Welcome to the Chase and Embrace Show, where I have deep dive conversations with women who have said yes to Jesus and embrace His love, His identity, and His authority in her life. Come join the conversation with us today. Thank you for coming and viewing the Chase and Embrace show. And with me today, I have Sue Anderson, founder of Wildwood Retreats in Tennessee. And I am so excited to have you on the show and learn all about Wildwood's retreats. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sharon. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. And because I do follow you on, Facebook, and you have some great stories about, different things that are happening there. And you told me recently if you go running off the screen is because there's an otter behind you in the river that might come up. And so that might be exciting, actually, but we really don't want you to. So tell me, what is Wildwood Retreat?
Wildwood Retreat is the left turn I never saw coming. I
That
always
to
joke.
us.
I know. I'm like, well, that's a surprise. Okay, how about that? I love that he's never surprised. He goes, well,
Right.
it's never, well, how about that? That's
Yeah.
never his state. But for us, yes. So I'm 57. I spent the last 20 years building a copywriting business. I love writing. I love connecting with clients. This is great. But I never went outside, Sharon.
Yes.
I went out to the car to go run an errand or something, but I didn't spend time outside because I thought, like hustle culture tells you, you have to just work. And
Yeah.
you can go outside when you're done working. And I was
Yes.
never done, so I never went,
Right.
And that was not a great way to live. Let's just say that. Not good.
Believe me, I
I
know.
read a
And the
book.
reason why I'm going to tell you a short little story, the reason why I know that is because I too live on acreage and we sold our software last year. Under the contract, I was to stay and work for the new owners. And they just pushed me into meeting after meeting after launch after launch. I no longer had control of how many launches that we did. And I found myself sitting in the chair because of meetings for a year. And finally, I just said, I'm not getting outside. I'm not able to assist my husband. It's affecting our relationship. It's affecting my well being. I'm exhausted. And so I said, you know what? I gave my notice. I wasn't under the contract anymore and I gave my notice and I am again back outside. So I totally understand that.
You get it. You get it.
Yes.
You totally get it then. So I read a book that actually changed my ideas about, like, I felt like if I weren't sitting at the computer, that didn't count at work as work. I had to be sitting and writing for it to count
Right.
as being a responsible adult and doing the things, right? And this book was called Three Simple Steps by a guy named Trevor Blake. And in it, this guy has built multiple 9-figure businesses, which is just crazy on his own,
Yeah.
and he's like in his 60s. It's crazy. And he said in this book that he basically works about 3 or 4 hours a day, and 2 or 3 of those hours he's out walking his dogs or he's walking through the woods. And I was like, what? And he
Yeah.
said that's where he's getting his brilliant ideas. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
I could use some brilliant ideas.
Yeah.
So I started going. I'm like, why not? So I started like 5-10 minutes in the morning every day, sitting on the porch, drag my poor husband outside, come sit down, have a tea. We're going to sit and just sit and look at grass. I don't know. It's going to be boring. It's hot. It's buggy, but we're doing this. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And eventually it started like really sticking with me and I wanted more of it. Kind of like
Mm-hmm.
fifth graders at retreat, like at recess, the
Yeah.
teacher's like, you want to go outside? Yeah. Yeah. That started being me. I was sneaking outside. Well, let me just go deadhead this rose bush and a few months of that go by and all of a sudden I'm driving. This is insane. I'm on a long car drive. I'm driving and all of a sudden this idea just lands. You know how this goes. This
Yes.
idea lands fully formed in my brain. Hey, you should build a retreat center for entrepreneurs and do it in the Smokies because they also stay too much inside. And I'm like, what? But more ideas kept coming. it was like getting totally fleshed out like a book. And I'm like, okay. So I pull over and I'm taking mad notes. I still have like a 5 hour, 4 hour car drive ahead of me. And I'm like, I gotta go. I can't sit here all day. The ideas are not stopping. So
Yeah.
I'm driving, I'm writing, I'm looking at the road, folks. I'm not looking at my notes. I'm not being crazy, but I'm writing and writing and writing, driving. And by the time I got home, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is a calling. This is a vision.
Yeah.
And so I come home, I'm like, all right, honey, hear me out. I just had this idea. Like, we're going to sell everything. How about we sell everything and we go and we move to the Smokies and we build a retreat center for entrepreneurs so that they can go outside and play. God love him. Poor man. And he's like, I could see it. And I'm like, what? You see it too? Oh my goodness. It was the craziest thing. And now we're here. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny because I had that same kind of epiphany and it was on the road and had just launched our software. We were coming back from a conference in California and I live in Washington State and we were in Oregon. And all of a sudden I felt you need to be on the road, which meant sell your house, buy an RV and travel. And so we were disobedient for 6 months, though. God sometimes will let you choose, and then other times he makes it so that you have to choose and say yes.
Yes.
And that's what he did with us. And so finally, it got to the point financially that because I lost my job, we weren't selling any of our software, and our house was just about to go into start the process of foreclosure. And we're like, okay, we have to do this. It's either go down this road or sell and do this. And then as soon as we said yes, he brought us enough business to get to stop the foreclosure process and allow us to choose a date. We chose April 2021. And then it was all about property. At first, it was going to be an RV park. And now we're not so sure. We think it's a retreat, a loss and grief retreat, but we don't think this current property we're on is it, but we're still not sure. God gives you steps. He doesn't give you the whole thing.
Not. I kind of wish he would sometimes.
I know. I think we would freak out if he did though. And then what
Yeah.
faith
Oh,
would
yeah.
that take? This is all a faith
Exactly.
journey.
It is. It
So how
is.
long did it take
Yes.
you to because we were disobedient and it sounds like you guys were not. So how long did it take you to sell all your stuff and then buy this property in Tennessee in the Smokies?
Well, it actually had happened the other way around. I was like, maybe I could just start looking. We'll see. My grown kids live up here in the Smokies. I was living in Alabama at the time. So I
Okay.
reached out to a realtor and I said, this is like a very low priority project. I'm probably not going to buy anything for a long time, but just in case, I'm wondering if you know of any spots that would be good for this. He's like, yeah, I actually do. Come on up. So next time I came up, we started visiting properties and, we saw this one. At first I was like, I don't want to see it. It's on a floodplain. He's like, I think you want to see this one. All right.
Yeah.
And we came, I was like, oh my goodness, there's a creek and there's a pasture. And then most of it is this huge, like forest with mountain like hills in it and like what this is crazy. Every other property became what I would measure it against. Is this the one or is this, nope, this one
Huh?
beats that. Okay, this one beats that. Still beats. And when I saw what they were asking, I thought, well, maybe we can make this work. And I looked, there was no way. It was not super expensive. It was 175,000 for like 35 acres, which is not much.
No, it's
But
not.
I didn't have it. I didn't have it. I didn't have the down payment. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll just start saving. Maybe it'll still be available or it'll come back up for sale or what. And I started talking with a mentor. I was working at a company called capitalism.com at the time.
Uh-huh.
And the owner there said, well, why don't you just raise some investor funds? And I'm like, that's a thing. So I started talking about it, sharing this vision for it. And two angel investors came alongside and helped us start buying the property.
Wow,
That was the
that's
down payment.
amazing.
And yeah, the down payment in about the first year. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so I thought, well, this will be great. We'll just sell everything. We'll go on up. It'll be fine. We already had a business though in Alabama that we needed to close until, before it happened, before we could come up, because that,
Right.
that had been hubby's thing. We couldn't just abandon it.
Right.
Over the next couple of years, things happened that at the time, like when you look at Daniel's story, you're like, or Joseph's story, sorry. If you're looking at Joseph's story, you're like, well, was this good or bad? Like at any part of his story, you're like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, you don't
Uh-huh.
know until
Right.
the end, right? Well,
Right.
this was one of those. So the shop that we had a custom classic Volkswagen shop that
Uh,
was doing like gorgeous, like museum quality work. Things were on magazine covers. We won prizes in Vegas, like all this amazing work. We took on a client who ended up suing us. We had fired him as a client because he was rude and mean to our staff. And we said,
mm-hmm.
that's it. Come get your stuff. You're out. So he turned around and sued us. And we thought, it'll go away. It's just frivolous. He'll stop. Oh, he did not stop. And there was no way that we could afford to pay the legal fees to counter this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked very much like we had just blown up our life. I mean, and then I got fired, like half the team where I was working got, like more than half, actually, most people who were employees got fired in 1 month.
Uh-huh.
The founder just took a left turn. And so does this look like a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Who
Yeah.
knows? Well, it felt really bad. It felt really,
Yeah.
really bad,
It
Sharon.
did.
Like
It did. I
really bad.
understand.
Oh my goodness. But it got us up here. So we
Mm-hmm.
did, in fact, sell everything. The things that we can use here, we kept, but everything
Right.
else, the house, and we moved up here and started building for real, and had, just enough savings that we were able to, get it started on it, which is incredible. So yes, it was a weird, nudge, but I don't
Well,
know that
like
we
I
could have done it
said,
any other way. But
sometimes God does not allow us to say no. He allows circumstances to happen so that we say no faster. It sounds exactly the same
right.
thing. You had your
Yeah.
timeline, God had his. He said yours was
Yeah.
wrong. I'll allow this stuff to happen.
Yes. Exactly.
And what's
Exactly.
really funny is so when we started our software, we had just opened our office, and we had been working out of our home for a little bit, and then we decided to open an office. And then a year later, we're closing it because my husband's like, why are we paying two of this and two of that? And when all of our clients, we'd meet online. So we closed it a year later.
Hmm.
And COVID hit 6 months later. But my point is 6 months before we launched our software, I was driving home from my job, which I could not stand. I didn't trust the people. It was boring. And my commute time was anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours every day, depending on what the traffic was, right? So I would spend anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours in a car, which is just as bad as sitting at behind a desk, if not worse, because it's more stressful. And so I was at a stoplight and I prayed and I said, God, I just want to work for my company full time. 3 weeks later, I was let go. I was fired. And it was the stupidest reasons. There was misspellings in my rough drafts. The hem of my pants was not, it was too long. I'm like, oh
My
my gosh,
gosh.
this is crazy. They really pulled some things out of, but I was so unhappy there anyway, and I got to work full time. And for a while, we were able to keep things going, for about 6 months. But then things got really, really tough. And about that time when things started to get tough was when God said, you need to be on the road. So it's all kind of works all together. I mean, he closed a lot of our friendships. A lot of our friendships disappeared. Our dog passed away, and she was a 110-pound Akita, which wouldn't work well in a RV. And she was 13, so it wasn't like she
Oh,
was young or anything. And it's just like all these things happen to let's get to that point. Why not? And in that process, and I'm sure you have found this too, and I can't wait to hear some of them. But in that whole process of being obedient, there's little miracles and blessings and obedience lessons and that you could go on forever. So tell me, what are some of the miracles or some of the things that you've really had to listen to that has helped you and that you've seen along the way?
Yeah. It's been fantastic with that. I love that because every single day it's a new lesson.
Mhm.
Or sometimes it's the same lesson because I'm still like being pigheaded and need to hear it. But a
Yes.
lot of it has been around God's provision. You know, this has been the valley of the shadow of death, you know, in many ways. It has been tough. But it's been an incredible thing because every morning I take a walk out in the woods that are, I'm pointing like you can see it. There's woods up there.
Yeah.
And I'll take a walk out there, and every day I stop, and there's this one big tree right at the entrance of the path that I go on. And I put my hand there. I'm not praying to the tree or anything, but it's just like a reminder to myself. And I'll say, God, show me what you want me to see. Help me to hear what you want me to hear. And then I would walk, and it would be like little tiny things like, all right, when we first started getting quotes for different parts of this project, we thought we'd put gravel paths throughout, you know, that somebody could drive
Mhm.
on. That's very, very expensive. I had no
It
idea how
is.
much gravel was. I was like,
My
what,
gosh.
$200,000 for gravel? No. So instead, we ended up using wood chips that we got for free
Yes.
because there were tree services in town and they were, you know, doing the whole county. So they delivered all their wood chips here for months. It was great. So we paved with wood chips. So I'd
That's
be
awesome.
walking and it was like, yeah, but it was like God said, look down, see what I did this.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay for any of this. And it's great. And you love it. And it's wonderful.
Yeah,
And I
it's
did
so
this.
much more natural.
Yeah. And it was an amazing thing. And then it was like, okay, now look up. What do you see? I remember always thinking, I need to live near trees. Like I need them. I couldn't do desert. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the city. I need trees. And he goes, you've said that a lot of times. Take a look around. How many leaves do you think you have here? How many trees? I couldn't count the trees, much less the leaves. It's
Right.
thousands and thousands and thousands of trees here.
Mhm.
And he's like, see? You know, all these little things constantly like this, you know, and different bits of scripture would come to mind and I would meditate on it in a whole new way because I needed it.
Huh.
And it was an amazing thing. This is my second marriage. The first marriage I was a pastor's wife for
Mhm.
22 years.
Okay.
And, I felt like I became a Christian at age 17, went right to seminary after college, you know, and just went into being a pastor's wife. And it never hit me. I was really identified with Martha instead of Mary.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes.
you know that personality. I just felt like I had to be doing all the
Right.
time.
Yep. Same.
And I, yeah. And then this year, it's been like, stop. Your goal is to please God and serve people, and you've got it backwards. Because I also had these people pleasing tendencies, and it was just like, whoa, it blew me away. So
Mhm.
all these lessons all along the way, you know,
Yes.
learning I always felt like, you know, I'm of Scottish descent and I'm eldest, you know, all this kind of stuff. And there were a lot of mental programs as far as you work really hard, you know, you're responsible for everything, you know,
Mhm.
this type of thing. And it was very hard to ever really identify as being a daughter of God,
Mhm.
being his child. I felt like a soldier or a handmaiden or a, you know, I mean, not in the creepy way like the show, but you know what I
Right.
mean? Like a worker, right?
Mhm.
And that had always been the thing. And he's like, no, you have this backwards.
Yeah.
And seeing that and growing through that and realizing not only does God able to provide, but he wants to provide and it delights him to provide. And kind of like when my kids were little, you know, sometimes, you know, kids are like this where they'll beg and beg and beg. They want this, please, 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 and pester you, right?
Yep.
And a lot of the time, I remember saying a couple times, guys, I want to give this to you, but you're making it miserable for me. Like,
Mhm.
I want to give it to you as a gift. And instead, it feels like you're extracting it from me.
Yes.
And that hit. And I was like, I am doing the same as a child of God.
Mhm.
God, provide, 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 please provide. You know, we need, you know. And it was like, just calm down. Give me a moment to provide it in a way that blows your socks off,
Yes, for
you know?
sure. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
funny because I have learned to be grateful for the little things that we have. I mean, where I live is in mountains as well, but it's in the Selkirk Mountains in the northern eastern corner on the border of Washington State, Idaho, and Canada. And there's a river and that's mountain. It's like, it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever lived, one, and two, just ever even seen. And I haven't been a lot of places, but so peaceful here. And I really feel like God brought us here because one, isolation for me, because he wanted me to, he wanted to mold me. He wanted me to be able to hear his voice. And in the woods, it's so much easier to hear his voice than in the city. And you can still hear it in the city, but there's just so much grabbing your attention. And then the other thing is healing for my husband, because we didn't know it when we bought the property, but unfortunately his daughter was killed and 2 years ago. And this place has been a sanctuary of healing for him. He can hear God's voice. He can find his peace even in the most horrendous thing that ever could happen to any parent. And so for him, it's healing. And it's just been super amazing. I feel like this place is our launching ground, and as it may not be our final destination, we don't know. Like, I just go outside and I'm like feeling, because we have really hard winters here. I mean, we get 6 feet of snow, but like today it's 90 and we have only like 25% humidity. So we don't have all the humidity that you have. We don't have all of the bugs that you have. We have some mosquitoes, beetles, that kind of thing, but none like you. And it's just like I can sit outside and just feel the sun on my face. And I remember saying, God, I go, is this warmth representative of you, because it's so warm and I just love it and it feels good. And I don't want to worship the sun. So I'm just like, this has to be a reflection of God's warmth and love. And so 3 days later, he led me to a scripture that talked about how in the new heaven and the new earth, there's not going to be any sun because it's not needed, you know?
Mm.
And then another time I'm just outside enjoying the sun and enjoying a watermelon. And I'm like, dang it, it's almost fall. And I'm like, dang it, this is the end of watermelon season and the sun. And he's like, no, when you get to heaven, you get to have watermelon anytime you want. There's not the curse on the ground anymore. Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and then another time in the winter time, the first time I had ever lived in that much snow. And there's these like, when the wind blows, the snow falls off the limbs of the trees and it glistens if it's sunny. And it's just so pretty. So one time I'm like trying to take a video of it, like, so I could like capture it, right? So I'm saying, okay, God, I'm ready. And he brings this biggest wind and it was like this blowing, glistening. I'm like, okay, not what I meant, God, but, and you can hear me say that on the video. So it's just like, you just really are able to build this amazing relationship with our Heavenly Father, with the Holy Spirit through the woods.
Yeah.
And that's why I
Yeah.
love your retreat so much, your idea so much, because not everybody has the luxury to be able to work remotely like me, or to, create a retreat like you and live far away from a city. So to be able to provide those things for people who cannot is amazing.
Yes.
I love it. I
Yes.
love your idea. And I was
Thank
like, I
you.
have to follow her. I have to see what God does. I feel like we're on similar paths, but still different.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I get that. And it's an amazing thing to see, implant an idea and let it grow, and that whole thing of sometimes it grows. Well, I mean, every plant grows down before it grows up.
Right.
It goes into the soil first. And so that's the same thing. This idea had to go boring into me, breaking up through the rocky soil that was in there before it could start actually coming up to where anybody could see anything. And it's
Yeah,
starting.
I know. And so you've had your first campers. How was that experience?
Yeah, it was wonderful. They actually stayed. I'm sitting in front of this is Otter Beach Treehouse. It's down by the creek here, thus the otter.
Yeah.
So, um, and we've had several campers now. They all love it. They're just like, this is so
So they
peaceful,
stay
so
in a
nice and
treehouse?
cool. Yeah, so it's not a treehouse like when we were little and then we'd have to climb a ladder to get up in there. It's on
Right.
a deck,
Cool.
but it's made from cedar trees that when we put in the driveway to come here, we had to clear a lot of timber. And so we use some of that. Everything that we can, we reuse.
Yes.
'Cause we
Same
want to be
here.
very gentle to the property.
Our
Yeah.
cabin is a lot of our own trees too, and some of them were dead and other ones not so much. But yeah, just using our own timber and our own mill and milling it. It's my husband's loving life.
Gets to play with all the cool toys.
Exactly, exactly. Well, he says they're not toys, they're tools.
Yes, yes, yes. They have to say that. It's in the law.
Exactly, exactly. And then so is your husband really enjoying what he's doing?
He is. It's been a very big adjustment for him because
Mhm.
he's still going through a bit of grief on having lost the project that he built for 20 something years.
Right.
But he's healing here, which has been wonderful.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and it's a cool thing. Also, he spent decades before the auto shop, he spent decades in construction and did a lot of damage to his back.
Oh,
So he's not physically able to do a lot of the building,
I
but he
gotcha.
still like
Yes,
we should have and he'll think about it. I always say he's like MacGyver and Robinson Crusoe.
that's awesome.
So
Yeah,
it's
and
been cool.
could he move his car business? Could he restart his car business if he wanted to?
He doesn't at this point. It's like if somebody comes and the joy was sucked away from that.
Yeah.
A lot of it, there were certain parts of building classic VWs that he loved. Like he
Mhm.
would design, he was the painter, made sure that the body was like so smooth that when it got painted, I mean, stunning work, Rachel.
Yeah.
It's just insane. And you know, there's a lot of other things that come into play as far as running it as a business. So
Right.
supply
Yes.
chain, employees, that kind of stuff.
I know
That
it's
was paid
amazing how
also.
many people say, "Hey, I love to bake and everyone says I'm a good baker. I should start a bakery." Well, there's all the other
No,
things that
probably
go
not.
with it. You know? You don't think about
Yeah,
all those other things.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's a good way to end up hating baking, but I mean,
Yes,
he
exactly.
just hasn't touched the car. Yeah. He has not touched a VW since,
Okay.
but this is good because it's still, I said it's a different medium you're working in now.
Mhm.
Instead of metal, it's trees.
Right.
But it's still the same creative process of
Right.
building it in his head and then
Right.
overseeing its build in reality. And my son actually works here. He's the muscle
Okay.
and he's learning a lot from my husband as far as like, how do you build things?
Right.
And he's
That's
gotten to the point
awesome.
now. Yeah, it's crazy. He's gotten to the point now where we're like, okay, can you go put a deck there? And he'll go do it. And it's gorgeous. And it's
Yeah.
better than anything I could have created. So
That's
it's
awesome.
really neat.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that your son's there. That makes it even more special.
It
So
does.
what are
It
your
does.
plans for the future? Are businesses going to be able to have retreats there? Are you going to host retreats? So what's the plan?
Yeah, both actually. So
Okay.
technically, it'll be a farm stay. We're a licensed farm. We're actually a tree nursery
Oh,
because we're green
awesome.
belted. Yeah. So that's how we'll do this. I am proposing it as an agritourism business.
Uh,
Business. So what we'll have, my dream for this, we'll see if it changes, but so far, right now, it's to put in 18 geodesic domes up in
mm-hmm.
the hills
Mm-hmm.
and very private. There's so much room. So very private up there.
Yes.
And then have a big lodge that we can have meeting space in, an outdoor kitchen where people can gather, which would be, we'll heat it in
Yeah.
you can do those roll down things. So
Right.
it'll still be usable year round. And then we will host retreats here quarterly that we plan
Cool.
in-house. And in between, we'll make the place available for coaches or businesses that want to hold their own retreats.
That's
or
awesome. Yeah,
individuals that want to come write a book or just unplug for a little while, or,
that's
have a
amazing.
personal retreat like that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. So I have to ask you, just because, we're doing building and properties, and what are the building permits like? Is there any, I don't know, I guess they call them CCRs, or like, is there requirements? Do you have to get permitting and that kind of thing?
So it's a gray issue right now, which is weird. So we're in Northeast Tennessee. It's very rural.
Mhm.
They are still working from the 2018 IBC Builders Code, and they don't require a permit for any structure under 450 square feet. All the domes are about 315.
Okay.
So technically, we don't, but we also want to be compliant. We want to cooperate. We want to
Right.
be, above board. So I've been working with the extension office, the agricultural extension office, and I suggested, what if we had it as agritourism? Because we're in Appalachia. I would love to, help people learn about foraging for native plants,
Yeah.
old timey ways of building things, like
Mhm.
really the old stuff, classic Appalachian food. There's stuff like vinegar pie, chicory rub. There's so many
Yeah.
things that people have never tried, and so I think if we have that educational component with it, I think that's gonna work okay.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
So for the lodge, you would need permitting, but for the domes,
Right.
you
For the
don't.
rest of it, no. Yeah.
That's
And we
awesome.
already have a septic permit for a 5 bedroom. So I'm like, well, that's the lodge. So
Yeah,
that'll be cool.
exactly. That's awesome. Yeah, so we had lived in West Virginia for a very short time, and we had 40 acres, and there weren't any permitting things that were needed. There were a few things, like septic as always, because that's EPA, but it already had one. And so I understand, like, you get property for really inexpensive there. And that's why I understand the bugs. Now, in West Virginia, it can get cold because it's a little bit more north. Does it get cold there in the wintertime?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Not for as long. Really just basically 2 months that are pretty cold,
What months are
but
those?
not, it was mostly February, well, January and February
Yeah, that's
probably.
what I figured.
So
Yeah. Do you
yeah.
get
So, and
snow?
we had, I think we had one snow. There have been years where, because I used to live up in this area for a little while, and there were times we'd get 2 feet of snow, but we haven't, it hasn't happened. We had about 4 inches maybe.
Yeah,
So
well, it's
I kind
very
of liked it. It was nice.
yeah. Yeah, well, it's kind of funny. There's a lot of places that haven't had their normal usual amount of snow. We had
Right.
We had quite a bit of snow last year, but we had some in December, then hardly any in January, and then it dumped in February, you know? So I understand. We're trying to get away from the snow in the summer or in the winter times now, because it's just,
Yeah.
my husband gets bored and I don't like the cold, but it's
Yeah. Well,
beautiful.
yes, exactly. There's the trade-off, right?
Yes. So when do you think you'll have what is the goal of your first retreat?
So I actually have a retreat planned for mid-September. It's just a
Okay.
private group. We'll take, it's still taking registrations right now, but for about 20 women. We
Awesome.
decided just women. I have two other ladies who are helping me plan this, and it's called the Shift Weekend.
Huh?
And it'll be intense, like in glamping type tents, because, well, some people will actually be able to use the dome, and a couple people can stay here, but the rest of us will be in tents. And
Okay.
it's just aimed at come and unplug. One lady is a hypnotherapist, the other one is a coach and a chef, and has all kinds of really cool stuff, a yoga teacher. So, well, we're still working out what we'll actually be doing, but I think we'll
Uh,
be sitting at the creek a lot and just talking. And it's
Awesome.
based in a community. Yeah, it's cool. It's based in a community where a lot of us have known each other for over a year just online, but very few of us have ever met in person.
That's
And I think there's
awesome.
something special. Yeah. When you can
Yeah.
meet in person and not have like, okay, well, I got to hop to another call or whatever, it's like a good way to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, it's funny. I've made amazing connections through this podcast, Chase and Embrace. And I'm just like, I love so many of the people that God has brought into my life. And it's very interesting is that you guys are all mostly, not all, but a majority of you are in more of the southern region of like, Arkansas and Florida and Tennessee and North Carolina and then Georgia. So I'm like, so it's kind of interesting. But I have some from Canada. So one of the girls from Georgia, she's like, you need to like create so this is an idea because you were there. We could have a whole chase and embrace retreat at your location.
Yes,
So
definitely. No, I
that
think
would
that'd
be,
be a blast.
yeah, that would be a fun because you would be the host and part of the session because you're here as a guest as
Right.
well.
Exactly.
So who knows? Maybe that's something in the future. Who knows? God
It could
don't.
be. Who
God
knows?
does.
Yeah, that's for sure. And he'll
E-
let us know when he wants us to.
Exactly, exactly. And he'll make us if we don't always say yes. But I'm I'm typically pretty obedient. I try to be. I mean, I always say I'm going to do it. I may not do it immediately, but I always say yes. Like to this podcast was out of obedience because I'm not one that likes to post myself on social media, but I love that I get to interview women. I went to college to be a reporter, so I feel like my degree is being useful at this point. And I just call myself a reporter for God. So I'm just get to tell his stories. And so what was the hardest thing about being obedient? Because we can be obedient with God and follow his lead, but it's not always easy. What was the hardest
Yeah.
thing?
Well, other than the funding that, which that is still a challenge.
Yeah.
I think the other hard thing is, like I said, I'm 57. This is not a
Right.
normal life path. I feel a
Right.
little bit like Abram when he was told, go, and then I'm going to do this for you. And it
Right.
was kind of like, okay, it's a weird, my kids joke that I'm voluntarily homeless. I'm not. I mean, we have the barn, we're
Yeah.
fine. But
Right.
it's like, it's weird. It is definitely a weird life. Um,
Yes, I would
and
agree.
and it and it required a lot of changes. Like here, I'm sitting on a video podcast, and my hair is frizzed out. I look like Einstein. And it's
You
fine. I've
do
just gotten to
not
the
look
point
like
where it's
Einstein.
fine. Oh, I do in the morning. I do in the morning. It's a little calm down. I did have a shower today, but there's a lot of things that are like we haul water. We do, we're mostly off grid. And it's,
Yes.
at 57, like, if I had done this at 37, it would be a whole different thing. But
Right.
now it's like we have to take breaks. We'll work for a little bit and we take a break.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird doing this at this age, but at least we're not 67 or 77 just starting it.
Right.
That would
Well,
be really
it's
hard.
very interesting. A lot of the stories in the Bible, a lot of the where the miracles happen or God leads people, it's when they're older. It's not, and I
Yes,
don't know if it's because we're more open at that age or what.
maybe.
I don't know. But maybe it's because we're outside, our kids are grown. I don't know why he chooses the older age because I'm like you. I'm about the same
Yeah.
age as you. And it was funny because one winter, I mean, we were in the RV for a couple of winters, and in 6 feet of snow in an RV is not fun. Let me tell you, it is
Hmm.
not fun. And then the third winter, we were in the cabin, but we didn't have a source of heat downstairs. And so
Hmm.
it was always, we had to, chop wood and, go get the wood and the 6 feet of snow, although my husband plows it. So there's really not any snow on the ground. There's plenty of space to walk that's clear because we bought a snow plow and a tractor. And so but it was cold. You have to bundle up and you have to carry these logs and inside and you're like doing it a couple times a day. So you have enough, then getting up in the middle of the night on those negative days and nights to keep it going and keep it fed. And I was like, can we just get a mini split next year? So we did. So I
Not a bad
totally
idea.
understand what you're talking about, living. And then
That's
we do
funny.
have solar. We know that, but we have a power pole too. Our solar only feeds are 15 and 30 amps. It doesn't feed everything, but
Right.
in this state, the cost of power is relatively inexpensive. We're in the bottom 5 or 10 states of inexpense. So it's not huge
Yeah.
savings to go and buy solar, but it is a nice idea that, power goes out and we're okay. It doesn't matter. We still have internet. We still have power. So I can still work and do all of those things.
So good.
Yeah. So,
It's
and
so good.
we don't have any broadband internet like you. We have to use mobile, or we have to use, what is it? What's your internet? I always forget his name. I don't know why.
Starlink.
Starlink.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
a
For some
Starlink
reason,
with
I always
Elon.
forget.
Yeah.
So we have Starlink and we have T-Mobile mobile device, and that's all we have too. And so sometimes it goes out, and you just got to deal with it. We don't have broadband. I miss my Comcast though. I miss the fast speed, but it's enough speed, to get most of the things that I need done. But it's definitely peaceful. So I asked you what the worst thing is. So what's the best thing?
I think the best thing is, I got to go back to that Psalm 23 again. Going through the valley of the shadow of death. And then at the end, you're standing on a different place completely. And that's been this. Just even the last month or so, I've been able to go, wait a second, it was all worth it.
Yes.
Like just for who I've learned more about, I've been able to really think about more about who God is, and because of who he is, who I am. And it's just that whole thing. I could not have learned that lesson anywhere else, I don't think.
Yeah.
And he taught it to me here,
Yes.
and that's been really incredible to watch,
Yeah.
and that he planted this seed of this idea and this desire in my heart, and he's making it grow. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that is absolutely the best thing, is just seeing that and seeing his faithfulness.
Yeah, it's funny is God has used this to really form my identity as well, because I was always the suburban girl that wore the cute clothes, drove the sports car, wore high heels, never in front of the camera, always behind. And now I don't drive a sports car because you know what? I live 45 minutes away from a decent store, and an hour and 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from anything else like a Costco or a Home Depot. And then high heels just really isn't conducive to trees and dirt and gravel.
Yeah,
And so I
not so
don't
much.
drive a sports car. I don't wear high heels often. And then my clothes, I have two wardrobes. I have my wardrobe to get dirty in, and then I have my wardrobe to work and have meetings and do this podcast in, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of funny how he's like, I didn't put those boxes in around you. You put those boxes around you. And so he's really stripped me of a lot of my own, what I thought who I was. So I look in the mirror and I'm like, I don't even know who I am anymore, God. Just do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you have that same kind of, like, you just don't even, you look in
Yeah.
the mirror? I mean, if
Yeah.
you would have
I don't
told
even
me,
have a mirror. I have a hand mirror. but but we don't even have like a wall mirror. So most days I'm just like, all right, whatever it is, it is. But I used to be, if I was on a podcast or interviewing somebody or whatever, I would always have my hair done and my makeup was good. And, background had to be right, like all these things. And now I'm like, I'm just showing up as me.
yes,
I'll create content, because content creation is a big thing for marketing. So I'm just creating it, and it's like, it's fine. you know, like I literally have gotten to the point I don't care about that kind of stuff. And I
yeah,
used to care a lot.
I don't wear makeup every day. I still wear it when I go somewhere most of the time, but there's been times I'm like, my gosh, I'm not even wearing any makeup. Ha ha. Oh well,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So
And I used to dye my hair and, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I don't have time for it and I don't miss it. And I don't
yeah.
feel like I need it. Like I used to feel, all that stuff used to feel, well, hubby would say it was war paint. And I said, yeah, it feels like I'm going to battle, and I need to
Uh-huh.
have this shield of something. And now I'm just like, I don't care. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's just
Yeah.
not worth the time and the effort. because I don't want it. And he doesn't, hubby prefers it without anyhow. So I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, you were right all along.
Yeah, my husband does too, but I still wear it. And a lot of it is like, so I just wear like tinted sunscreen. So I don't wear foundation, I wear tinted sunscreen. And I need sunscreen because, I'm a redhead. I have pale skin, and you can see my nose is kind of burnt. It's red. I call myself Rudolph this time of year. But yeah, it's just amazing how when you follow God, it's not always easy, but it's always rewarding. And you really learn who God is and who you are in Christ. And all of it is worth it. And I will say that you are even more rural and off grid than I am. And so I feel for you. And, but at the same time, we're looking at other properties to renovate and do things. And there's places where you have to haul the water in, you have to use solar and, all those different things. So I don't know where God is leading us, but I'm just going to say yes, whether it's super hard or not,
Yeah.
because it's
Probably a good
always,
plan.
yeah, because it's always rewarding.
Yeah,
Well, I
definitely.
am super excited. I am definitely will follow you, and anybody who wants to follow her progress or wants to, book a retreat. All of the information is in the description. I am just super excited, and I hope that one day we can meet face to face, because I really love your journey. I feel like we're kind of journey sisters in a way, and so I just totally love watch what you're doing. So I appreciate you being
Thank
on
you,
the
Shay.
show.
Thank you so much for having me. This has really been fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I love it. Thank you for watching Chase and Embrace in today's episode. I hope that you learned something. My goal of this channel is that you become closer and understand that Jesus loves you. And if you would like to be on this show, please go to chaseandembrace.com. Also, if you want to be notified of future conversations, please like and subscribe. I appreciate you for watching, and God bless you.